Hello, everybody. My name is Roger, and with me today is Alex. Hello,
Hello.
Alex. We are here as part of the database team doing our 16.10 planning kickoff. As usual, we have our weekly cadence issues where our capacity and PTOs are listed. One important thing to call out for this milestone is that in 1610, GitLab has a hard production lock on March 8th, so it will be a little bit of a shorter milestone than usual, but this does not impact any of our priorities since most of our items are longer running. Let's jump into the things. First item that we've been working on for some time is reducing lightweight lock contention. I think we've made a lot of good progress in the last few months. Alex, do you want to give us a quick update on the last open bits here?
Yeah, so I think the first important takeaway for lightweight locks is we have not had a lightweight lock related incident in a while now, which is really awesome. And I think it's a testament to several teams' work on this, addressing this important issue. So in the last milestone, we finished making documentation for vertical table splits. This is an important tool for us to address this kind of going forward, and it'll also be something we can use with the wall rate, potentially with wall rate reduction if we need to. So it's kind of another tool in our tool chest. And the next thing we're working on is pursuing plan and query caching options for a number of queries that we've identified. The For plan caching, it's find queries. We're going to try and cache the plans for all of the find queries and see how that goes. That's actually built and deployed. It's just behind a feature flag that we started turning on before the holidays, and then when everybody left for the holidays, we decided to turn it back off in case something went wrong with something else and we didn't want this to be at fault. So we're going to try start turning that back on in staging and then in production over the next couple of weeks just to see if that can make an impact, which which would be cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. So along the same vein of, not having seen any more incidents about lightweight loss in some time, we've also seen significant value and progress in our table size reduction efforts. I think
Indeed.
there's a lot of stories to tell, but I think this chart dramatically shows the difference here. It's about 100-to-1 ratio here. Alex, do you want to talk us through some of these benefits?
Yeah, so it's as data changes or is moved in Postgres, we produce dead tuples, right, which are bad values in indexes. And something you can see here is that graph corresponds to partitioning. So when the new partition was created and we started writing there, we see this almost immediate drop in the number of tuples that are created, and the number of dead tuples created. So this decrease also correlates with a steep drop in vacuum times, which is already reducing both our CPU usage, which we weren't super worried about for CI, but is always a nice thing. And more importantly, it drastically reduces our wall production because during an auto vacuum, you can see, 20 megabytes a second, which is a pretty substantial portion of our wall rate. Um, well, I guess maybe not. I don't know. It's a huge chunk of our wall rate comes from auto vacuum, and without that, um, we get this really steep drop. So we're hoping that doing the similar partitioning in the merge request diff tables will help us achieve similar results, uh, with wall rate kind of going forward. Certainly, it will around vacuum times. So
Cool.
yeah.
Which I guess puts us a nice segue into wall rate reduction. I know this is something we've been starting to investigate. This is something we've also, I think Matt Smalley has also started with some instrumentation in Tamland to help us better monitor. It is definitely a key saturation metric that I think we are starting to approach pretty regularly here and there. So we want to keep a good eye on it. Alex, do you want to share some updates on the investigation and sampling that's coming up soon here?
Yeah, so I would one other thing I'd add about in background in wall rate is we wall rate is not a new issue for GitLab. We've had a few instances in the past where we had pretty serious production outages as a result of steeply increased wall rate. And in the past, all of those have been around attempts to do cleanup in the CI tables, where the cleanup produced so many dead tuples that it triggered these like wraparound vacuums, and the wall rate like the wall produced by deleting was so high that we had things, literally fall over as a result. So that's one of the reasons that we're so excited about this partitioning stuff. But on the other end, we've actually identified a couple of corrective actions that we think will make a difference in the main database cluster in the shorter term. There are a couple of experiments that we're going to work with DBRE to try. One of them is offloading the wall disk to a different disk so that if it's on we're hoping that on a physically separate disk, it will have a different, uh, we're not going to be IO constrained in the same way that we are sharing the disk with the rest of the data. And the other thing we're looking at doing is making adjustments to a Postgres setting that will slow down our vacuums, which has the disadvantage that the vacuums will take longer, but it should substantially decrease the amount of wall that they produce while they're running. And that may have an overall impact on system stability.
Yeah,
So
lots of things that we're trying, and we'll definitely measure and see which one comes up at the end of it.
yeah, on top of that, we're also continuing to examine a dump of wall data that we retrieved a few weeks ago now, to identify application related bottlenecks, and we have a couple of things that we believe we've started to disprove some hypotheses around the vulnerability reads table, and we may see some where we think maybe a different culprit may actually be the merge requests, not the diffs table, the merge requests table itself, which sees a high volume of writes. So we're not doing anything firm on that now. We're going to continue to gather data from gather new wall dumps in order to check that to see if it has the same features that we're seeing from this dump from a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago.
I think the nice thing here is, if we do identify that this is a path forward, a lot of our foundational tooling that we've invested in over the past several months to partition other tables will allow us to more rapidly progress on these additional future upcoming interventions. So I think we also see a ability to respond more rapidly with the kinds of investment the database team has historically made.
Definitely. I mean, we can build directly on top of the patterns we're using for the merge request diffs table.
Cool.
So that would be really, it would actually be it would be kind of a win if we found out that it was actually merge requests and not some of the other tables. Not to say we don't want them to also partition. We do. Uh, there are other tables out there that we think we would benefit from partitioning. So
Yeah, I think we'll tackle them one at a time, but definitely we think there's lots of opportunity to continue reducing table sizes with lots of downstream impacts to database performance. I think the last priority item we called out here, this is a new item on the planning issue, but not a new item for the database team. I think, sales is a top company priority, and GitLab has sort of oriented our entire company's engineering resources to making sure it is a highly prioritized work item. And the database team is also doing our best to support. I think in many ways, we've already been collaborating closely with Cells to make sure our entire infrastructure continues to be stable as Cells is being developed. But now we have called out some specific action items that we want to collaborate to build with. So this is, yeah, Alex, do you want to take this one?
yeah, so our first step here is we just want to make sure we're establishing a firm footing with that team on what our expectations are from each side. Just these are the things the database team can provide, and these are the things the sales team is going to provide. Just because our team does have the occasional, oh crud, drop everything on the floor and address this fire moment. And the last thing we want to happen is have one of those happen, and then the result be it delays cells. So we just want to make sure that we've got this firm foundation underneath us, and then we're really excited to help them move forward with this effort because it's going to be really important for our long-term database stability.
Yeah. And last but not least, with that also unfortunate call out that our team does often have these high priority items that we are supporting with very little secondary capacity. I think we have the same secondary capacity items we have for the last couple of milestones as
There,
well in terms of migrations in order and load balancer improvements. I think we continue
actually,
to work on
there
these and making
there have
progress.
been
Yeah.
so sorry.
No, no, I
Go.
was just gonna say we did see, progress being made towards these things, but if you want to jump in with more detail, please.
Yeah, so on the migration ordering, we did have some there's been more activity on that, though it's effectively in the same state it was now. We identified some places where it could cause issues for some customers, and so we wanted to make sure that the behaviors would be expected and not unexpected. And so they've worked through those issues, and I think they now have a path forward. On the load balancer side, we actually do have some good news there. Um, we released and are currently testing the feature flags within load balancers. So uh, that that opens up a lot of possibilities for adding improvements for load balancing, not just around our zone aware work, but also for responding to wall rate incidents. So right now we have a set threshold for um, wall synchronization for our replicas. So if a replica is too far out of sync, it gets dropped from the pool. Um, but with the feature flags, we'll be able to not just so we'll be able to on the fly disable that functionality. So if we have all of the replicas approaching that threshold, we don't just drop all of the replicas from the pool and fall over. But also, it'll allow us to experiment with new techniques for detecting when a replica is misbehaving, and without being able to turn that functionality off if there's an issue.
Cool. Well, a lot of, in general, stability improvements, a lot of wins in terms of lightweight locks and CI partitioning, but definitely a lot of continued efforts here. But yeah, this is it. Database team 1610 planning. Thank you.